Hate is a place someone who cannot stand sadness goes. Whether it be hatred towards the self or towards anything else. I feel like this is like a really prevalent thing throughout Omori, specifically for Aubrey. In Omori, if you haven't played through the game yet, we follow Sunny and his dream counterpart Omori like throughout the game. We just switch between the dream world and the real world, and between like the photo album in the real world and the dream world, we can like see the personality, like a representation of the characters before the truth, which is the big event, which is the biggest event. Like the whole game revolves around the truth pretty much. So before this though, we could see how the characters really were and how they are without a whole bunch of trauma and everything behind them. And through this, we're gonna focus on Aubrey. So Aubrey was a child, of course. That was she was like kind, happy, you know. She did get like emotional at times and fought with Kel, my boy Kel. But you know, overall, like she was like a happy and living a good life, you know. She was a happy person. And it really seemed that way for everyone in the friend group, for Sunny and Hiro and everyone else, you know. But then came the day. I'm sure most of us know the truth of Omori by now. Like if you've seen all my other videos on my channel, or you've probably played through the game on your own. But just in case you don't, and you don't want to play through the game for some reason, the truth is this. So Sunny and Marie were planning on playing in a recital together, right? Sunny was gonna play the violin and Marie was gonna play the piano. But like the day of the recital, I'm pretty sure they got into a pretty heated argument because, you know, there was a whole bunch of like built up frustration from like Sunny and Marie, and there was a whole bunch of conflict there. And this time it didn't end up going so well, and they got so angry that Sunny was gonna try to run down the stairs, right? But Marie wanted to block him, and well, you know, Sunny is going full sprint. Marie's just trying to block him, and in front of the staircase, you know, only bad things can happen, and the worst happened. And Marie ended up falling down the stairs because Sunny put too much force and pushed her down, leading her to what seems like her death, which is, we can assume she was dead, but you know, there's a very small chance that she wasn't, and this becomes even more messed up. But we're gonna assume she was dead. And this whole time Basil's like being witness to all of this, right? He's seeing all of this happen, and he sees, you know, that's pretty messed up. Basil sees his best friend push and accidentally kill her sister, and he's like panicking. So in this panic and everything, he's like, I have to save my friend from potentially going to jail and not everything, all the consequences this could cause. So he decides that they're gonna fake it as a suicide in hopes of making the situation better somehow. But obviously it doesn't make the situation better, it makes it completely worse. It completely backfires. Everyone's confused, guilty, and traumatized, and yeah, they're like, why did this happen? What even just happened? It was just such a confusing thing for the entire friend group and their families to go through, because they're like, Marie all of a sudden just it seems like she all of a sudden committed, you know, suicide. But we know that's not really what happened. Only Sunny and Basil know what actually happened. But this whole thing just caused a whole bunch of confusion and everything. And after this is when the friend group pretty much just like slowly splits apart, because, you know, there's a lot of reasons why, but I'm pretty sure the main reason was because of the trauma and everything that it would probably remind them of being together and everything. So everyone just kind of split up, went their own way. And for this video, we're just gonna focus on Aubrey's, you know, development and stuff. So as this is all happening, you know how the friend group is slowly, you know, just splitting apart, you know, never hanging out again, you know. Aubrey starts to notice like, hey, why I'm being left alone, we're all just like kind of splitting apart. What's going on? What's happening? So she starts feeling, you know, abandoned, because she was like, my friends are like, they're not even there for me. They're just kind of gone. Like, yeah, she's just like, they're abandoning me, they're gone, they're not being there for me and all that. And she, she gets angry at them and also starts feeling alone because no one is there for her. Because as we'll see later on, her household was, not, just not safe, I guess we could say. It wasn't a good place for her to have people there for her. I guess that's the best way to put it. So she starts to feel alone, there's no one to help her cope with her trauma and her emotions, and she's probably like angry and confused as to why she was abandoned. And slowly, this like confusion and loneliness and everything slowly starts turning into like anger and hatred towards her friends, because she's like, they're supposed to be there for me, but they're just not there at all. They just kind of left her alone and kind of moved on from life after everything happened. And that pretty much just leads to her becoming this angry, hateful person. However, though, there is one day when Aubrey and Basil are like both in school, right? And Aubrey sees like Basil's kind of alone, so she's like, hey, maybe we can, reconnect. We could be friends again and stuff. But Basil, obviously, because he was a major culprit in all of the truth that happened and everything, he's like very nervous, and he's like probably like super anxious, like, oh no, they're probably gonna figure me out, or he doesn't want to be reminded of everything that happened, and he doesn't want to be figured out and all this. So he's obviously super nervous, super anxious about this, and like really uneasy. So during this hangout, Aubrey kind of discovers Basil's photo album, and she sees that it's like all scribbled out, all the photos are scribbled out and everything, especially like the one with Marie and stuff, because the truth and everything was Marie. And then that's when Aubrey kind of like snaps at him, and this is probably when she truly becomes angry at her old friends and stuff. She like snaps at him, she starts calling them names, and then I'm afraid that's how she starts bullying him and stuff. Poor Basil, but he has to suffer. Well, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't have to suffer. My bad. But this is when she starts getting really angry and really hateful towards her friends, and especially towards Basil, because she thinks he's the one that absolutely ruined their photo album, and like along with that, their memories, especially the memories with Marie. Now, fast forward 4 years, right? When the game takes place 4 years after all of this, and Sonny wakes up in the real world. He hears knocking at his door, and that's when Kel convinces him to come out, and he finally gets to touch some grass after so long. And yeah, happy days. Sonny's finally breaking out of his hikikomori thing. Until we finally encounter Aubrey in the real world after 4 years, and she is a completely different person from she was before. Like, she was all nice and kind, I guess, and everything. But now she's all cold, angry, wants to beat up everyone, has a baseball bat. Like, she's become a very different person, and like the complete opposite of what she was before. And it's not very good. She's even bullying Basil because what he did to the photo album, or what she thinks he did to the photo album. And then she even starts fighting Sonny and Kel, and then Sonny pulls out a knife and the fight ends. But I mean, she did have a nailed baseball bat. Like, I think that's a pretty fair fight. But anyway, we can see Aubrey is like, her hatred for her friends is like at its peak at this point. Like, she's like completely closing them off. She doesn't care about them. She absolutely hates them and gets angry anytime she sees them. And yeah, she doesn't really care about their feelings or anything at all at this point. So at this point is where I feel is her hatred for her old friends is like at its peak. Like, this is when she like completely does not care about anything about her old friends. Then after all of this, Basil's like, yo, my guys, it's good that we're reunited and all of this, but you see, our girl Aubrey just kinda stole my photo album straight out of my hands, and now Kel and Sonny are like, I'm not having this. We gotta get this. Well, more like Kel. Sonny's like quiet the whole time, so I don't know what he said, but Kel is like, we gotta get this back. We gotta get his photo album back because Aubrey is being a jerk and she's stealing people, not people, her photo album. So then they're like, alright, we gotta get the photo album back. And they go through this whole thing, you know, going through every single hooligan and stuff. And eventually, they find out Aubrey's at the church. So they go to the church. Kel's like, I don't know if we should really be doing this. But Sunny's like, I really don't care. So they break into the church. And then they start talking and everything. And then Kel and Aubrey start, you know, having like a little argument. Aubrey says some very important things. She says, my old friends weren't there for me when I needed them. And she also reveals, after all this time, she's still trying to find a peace from what happened. And that the old Aubrey is supposedly long gone. And then we have the fight between Kel and Sunny and Aubrey in church, which is very like uncomfortable to go through, because like it's like these two old friends that it doesn't really seem like they actually really want to fight. They're just kind of doing it because they maybe feel like they have to or something. And then like you have the people from the church saying a whole bunch of stuff about Aubrey and revealing like, oh, her dad left and ever since then she's been like a delinquent and everything. And it's a very uncomfortable and disturbing fight, to say the least. But it happens, and then it all ends, and then Aubrey's like kind of like tears in her eyes, it looks like, at the end of it, and she runs out. And even Kel was like, I don't know if this was a good idea, but I'm pretty sure he high fives you right after it. I haven't played the game in a while, I'm not really sure, but I don't know, it wasn't the best thing to do, let's say the least. It wasn't the best time to approach Aubrey, and a lot happened in this scene, alright. So then after all of that, they kind of, you know, you kind of go out back into the street, and then you see Aubrey throwing out the photo album. But Kel was like, he digs through the trash because he literally does not care. And then he gets the photo album back, and then yeah, we got the photo album back. Look, and they're in good condition and all that, and we're all good. So about this scene, I feel like it's a very, you know, pivotal moment in her character development, because we pretty much learn about like why she turned out the way she did and why she's acting, because, you know, she feels like she's been abandoned, she was lonely, and that's like pretty much what drove her hatred, like all the abandonment from her friends and stuff. And, you know, like she probably still cares about all of her friends at heart at this point, but all of that is pretty much just being blinded by her hatred for all of them, that, you know, her anger that they left her and stuff. And, you know, all of it being like held in and built up over the years probably just completely makes it worse. And, you know, yeah, it's definitely like unpleasant to see her so angry and stuff, but I guess it's kind of understandable considering everything she went through and the loneliness and the abandonment she felt. It's definitely understandable that how she ended up. But, you know, on the outside she seems like this just like angry delinquent person, but, you know, on the inside she's like just pretty much just a hurt kid who really just could not handle everything that happened all at once in that period of time of the truth. The next day we have Sunny and Kel, right? They're back at it again, right? They're chilling, you know, they're vibing, they're going to the park, going to the store, I don't know, they're doing everything, they're chilling until they pull up to the park, right? They pull up to the bike, and they hear their boy Basil calling out for help, and they're like, bro, what are they doing to my boy Basil? And it turns out it's coming up from their old hangout spot. So they decide to go, and they find Aubrey and the hooligans, you know, like shouting at Basil and bullying him and stuff. Well, I don't know if they were bullying him, but they were definitely shouting at him. They're like, dude, get out of here. Basil's like, please help me. And then Kel was like, alright, you guys are taking this too far. Y'all gotta leave Basil alone. So then the entire hooligan gang is like, alright, you better leave us alone. And then Sunny and Kel fight against the hooligans and stuff. And, you know, that whole thing happens. And then the fight ends. Whether you win or lose, I think the fight ends, leaving Aubrey, Kel, Sunny, and Basil all alone in this situation. And then this is where pretty much see like Aubrey's like hatred, like her wall of hatred just kind of start, you know, like cracking, kind of start falling down, you know. And we kind of see her like kind of in, I guess we can call it an emotional breakdown, because, you know, her friends are like coming back into her life and everything. She's like, why are you coming back? And now I don't want you here. I've been trying to close you off all this time and everything. And then she seems to be like especially angry at Basil because, you know, the photo album, she thinks that he like messed it all up and everything. So out of anger, like she impulsively just pushes him into the water. And then, you know, we kind of see her, you know, have a little bit of regret. She was like, dang, like, shoot, I did not mean to do that. I did not mean to go that far. And then, you know, we see Sunny jump in the water. I think Kel told him to jump in the water. Like, I didn't do this. Doesn't he know that Sunny can't swim or something? Like, I don't know. But he's like, Sunny, go save Basil. So Sunny tries to go save Basil and he kind of like fails and stuff. He has like a whole flashback and everything. And then that's when the hero pulls up, you know, and saves both of them. They're like, alright, we gotta take Basil home because he almost drowned and he's been through a lot. And Aubrey's kind of like left alone there, I guess, being left alone in the old hangout spot. And yeah, that's pretty much where that whole thing ends. This scene is particularly important, I feel like, because, like, you know, firstly, we get to see like Aubrey, like, we finally got to see her showing some emotion, like, you know, rather than just like being completely angry and hating everyone. She finally like actually starts like showing a little bit of emotion, you know, when the fight with the hooligans ends. She's finally trying to show how she really feels. But this like outburst of emotions and everything kind of you know, pushes her to push Basil, and this whole thing breaks down, which, you know, she does seem to regret immediately. So obviously she really didn't actually mean it, but you know what happened, and Kel got all angry. And the guilt for, you know, for doing this like very like quickly hits her, you know. It hits her a lot. And I think especially after this, Aubrey's like, she finally starts to realize what she's like become, you know, like she's like closing off her friends, constantly angry and cold and all that. And you know, this whole thing of hating her old friends and being angry all the time is like causing not only her but like people around her more harm than actually helping. And although it isn't really shown in the game, I could like imagine that she felt really lonely after this incident, because like, you know, she was left all alone after everything, you know, with all the guilt and with everything that just happened. And you know, she realized she has no one like to emotionally rely on. She probably like felt the loneliness probably really hit her at this point, I imagine it. And because like, you know, she closed everyone off, she really didn't have no one, and instead just had this built up anger for them. This is when I feel like her character like really starts to change. This is the point where she probably decided, like, you know, I kind of have to change because this is not working out. Now we head into the final day. So in the final day of Sunny's, you know, before he moves away, I guess I forgot to explain that, but he has 3 days to move away. And on the final day, the day before he moves, you know, they kind of wake up, have a peaceful, chill morning because Hero is here now. He makes them breakfast and everything until someone's at the door. They interrupt their little peaceful morning, and then it turns out it's actually Kim from Aubrey's friend group of hooligans. And then they're like, Aubrey is like acting weird and she's not coming out of her house, and we need your help. You guys might be able to do something. So they're like, Sunny's party, they're like, we're gonna go. So they decide to go, and then they check on her, and they're like, the door is unlocked. So they just kind of walk in, and this is where we see Aubrey's household condition, and it's not pretty. Like, it is very not good to say the least. I mean, there's like trash, alcohol everywhere. The mother just like looks like completely like out of it, like she does not care anymore. Aubrey's house or her home is, you know, very bad, very neglected, and she probably had the same, you know, the way the house is probably like how the mother treated Aubrey, you know, right? She just did not care, completely neglected her and everything, and that, you know, shows a lot. So it tells us a lot. And you know, then they head upstairs, up the ladder, and they're to Aubrey's room, and she's like, why are you guys breaking into my room? Which is like, I mean, that's at least understandable. Like, they just kind of break in out of nowhere. But then, you know, Hero's like, Aubrey, tell me about yesterday. And then, you know, she starts telling him, then Kel, kind of jumps in and they kind of have a little argument again. And Hiro's like, hey, we're just having another, our classic Aubrey and Kel fight. And they're like, you guys just gotta make up, and and then we'll be fine. Pretty much what Hiro's like. And then he finds they find a little extra photo Aubrey had of Marie. She's like, this is all I have left of her. And then they put the photo of them back together, and it's like kind of gets emotional because you're seeing through all their memories, and then like how everything is now is very painful. So they put the photo album together, and yeah, finally we start to see like the real Aubrey, right? She finally like comes out. She kind of apologizes for all of her behavior. She's like, I've been acting like a jerk and everything. She's like, I'm sorry. And then Kel is also like, I'm sorry too. I wasn't treating you the greatest, everything. And then they're all friends, and then the story ends. We're all happy. Nothing bad happens, right? But actually though, this is like, this part is very important because Aubrey like finally kind of brings her guard down, starts being vulnerable, and stops hiding her pain. Finally decides to be her true self and let her emotions flow and tell everyone how she's feeling and stuff. Like at first she tries to close herself off in her room, from like everyone, which is like, I'm assuming is because of what she did to Basil, and she felt really guilty for it and stuff, and because of everything else. And she tried to close herself off. And we also see how her home is really like, is completely neglected. Her mother just does not care. The house is all trash. Like, it's very bad treatment, not just of the house, but of just, her mother to her daughter just is not good at all. And it's probably like, definitely a big reason why she ended up the way she did. Because, like, she had nowhere to go to, not even her parents. She didn't have her parents. And yeah, she had very terrible circumstances after the truth and everything. And then we have the little Sunny and Kel and Hiro break in and stuff, and then we start to see we finally start to see the real Aubrey, especially once they put the photo album back together. Then we kind of start to see more of Aubrey. She's like, he reveals that, like, she kept the photos because she felt that's all she had left of Marie, the memories of her and stuff. Which, like, kind of, shows that she really did kind of still did care about them deep down. She just kind of really hid it because of this, like, anger or hatred she felt towards them. But she did care about them, obviously, like, deep down, even though she tried not to show it and try to close them off. She still did. And the only reason I feel like she was, like, acting, all angry and stuff is because she didn't know how to cope with everything she went through, which is, like, understandable. She was only like a little, like, 12 years old, and all of a sudden her friends abandon her, and she goes through this trauma of seeing one of her best friends hanging herself and everything. It's definitely understandable what she went through and how she ended up, and her circumstances were terrible. So yeah, this is like the only way she knew how to cope with her pain, and it was an unhealthy way, obviously. But now at the end of it all, we finally reunite and we're finally friends again. And Aubrey is now, she can now accept her older friends back into her life instead of, trying to close them off and being all angry at them and stuff. So at this point in the game, she's like, Aubrey's kind of, no longer an enemy. She's part of the gang again. So we kind of just have several different scenes where we see more of Aubrey. We have like when we go to the player goes to visit Marie's grave, right? She reveals that she's been at the grave often, and then she also like comforts Hiro after he's like being like feels all guilty and stuff for not being there for Marie and everyone else. And yeah, and at the playground swings, she also apologizes again to Sunny for her behavior. I mean, she really apologized, but she says sorry again. And she also like realized like, hey, maybe I should have also been there for you. And like she realized, I guess it was kind of selfish of her to think they should be there for me, but she's also like, maybe I should have been there for them too. And she's also like starts showing compassion and concern for Sunny because he was all alone, and he looks pale and skinny because, you know, he hasn't been eating properly. I mean, my guy only had one steak. But yeah, we start seeing Aubrey being more of herself, more caring, more compassionate. In these like little short cutscenes, we can definitely see more of Aubrey starting to become more of her old self again. You know, she, instead of being this cold person, she's starting to be more herself, more compassion, more care for all of her old friends again, and just like everyone in general, I'm pretty sure. And she's finally growing out of her hatred and trying to cope with her emotions in, you know, a good, healthier way, rather than just be like selfish and hateful and stuff. Anyway, now we gotta go get our boy Basil. He's the last one left of the gang that we don't have yet, but he's in the hospital. But only to visit his grandma, right? He's not dying yet. After learning that, you know, Basil's kind of gone for right now, they're like, all right, we can just chill out for the rest of the day. They're like, we could go see the old treehouse we always hang out in, right? So they're like, but then they're like, Sonny, you can do whatever, you do whatever, Sonny. They're basically giving the player time to do side quests and stuff. But you know, they're like, we gotta go inside the treehouse. So they go to the treehouse one last time before Sonny moves away. And then they find the final photo that was missing from the photo album, and then we go through it again one last time. Just because it was, well, it's not the last time you can see it, but you know, just one last time to see it together. And then after they look through it, Aubrey just kind of dips. She rushes outside of the treehouse, you know, and to the tree stump, and she puts her little what were those things called? Pedal spinny thingies that you. I'll put a picture of it because I don't know I forgot what it's called, but she does this, and then we finally see like Aubrey let all of her emotions she's been holding back this whole time, finally lets it all out. So we have Aubrey, you know, at the tree stump, and she's like, you know, she starts like getting emotional, right? She's like, I felt so lonely when Marine passed away, and she felt angry because everyone abandoned her, but then she realizes everyone just like coping in their own way, and she didn't really understand and realize that when she was younger, and she just kind of let it out as anger, but you know, everyone just coping in their own way. And she, you know, recalls when she was with Basil, and she was like, when she got all mad at him for messing up the photo album, but then she's like, she recognizes that he like didn't even try to understand why he did it or anything. He just kind of got angry at him and bullied him and stuff. And yeah, and the guilt of trying to cut herself out from all of her old friends finally, you know, starts to get to her. And then that's when she kind of breaks down crying and stuff. And I think at this point is like when her hatred for everyone and everything kind of just like, you know, goes away. She's like finally like done being this angry, hateful person. And then Kel and Hero are like, group hug time, and they have a group hug, and yeah, it's very nice. It's very, very nice. At least finally a good moment in the Omori game that isn't painful in the real world, at least. This scene is pretty much just Aubrey, you know, letting it all out, letting out everything she held in for the past 4 years, and holding in pain and everything for 4 years. You know, a lot builds up in that time, and it's definitely a lot. You know, Aubrey, you know, she talks about how she felt like no one was there for her, and it made her feel alone. But she's also like, hey, I did make the mistake of pushing everyone around me away and stuff. And she also acknowledges her anger that was caused by her, you know, feelings of abandonment. But she also acknowledges that she failed to see that like everyone just kind of coping with the pain in their own way, and like no one really knew how to like properly. And yeah, it caused a lot of more pain. And at the end of it all, the guilt of her mistakes is like gets to her, and it makes her break down crying. And you know, understandably, I mean, it's 4 years worth of pain. It's like it hurts a lot to hold in that pain and finally let it go after such a long period of time. And I think this is one of the most important scenes, not just for Aubrey but all of the friend group, because like makes them realize like, hey, friends, like we should be there for each other, right? Instead of like trying to run away from our pain, trying to hide everything that happened, and just like completely trying to cut it off. Instead of closing everyone off, we should just all be there for each other when things get rough. And yeah, they all start to realize that. And Aubrey finally acknowledges and not acknowledges, finally acknowledges and accepts all of her mistakes that she made, you know, in the past of, you know, her anger and everything for the past 4 years, which is definitely an important step in overcoming, you know, like your pain and trauma. You gotta like acknowledge it and accept everything that's happened. And that's what Aubrey can do now. Now that she's acknowledged and accepted her pain, she can now move on and grow from her past mistakes and become a stronger and better person. And Aubrey finally ended up, you know, going to Basil's house at the end of the game and apologizing to Basil, which is, I guess, a big step for her to be able to move forward. But anyway, that pretty much concludes all of Aubrey's character development throughout Omori. At least, you know, from like the most important and biggest stuff that stood out. So, in conclusion, at the end of the day, the trauma of the truth and all the pain Aubrey went through, I don't think Aubrey will ever be her true, or not her true self, but she'll never return to how she was before, you know. This is a lot. It was a lot, the pain she went through, and it changed her forever. However, at least now that she went through all of this with Sunny and the gang, she can finally begin to be herself again and letting herself experience her emotions rather than just hide all of them. And behind, you know, this wall of hatred she had for all these 4 years, she can finally, you know, get rid of that. Just let herself, you know, be herself and experience her emotions. And overall, I think despite all of the pain she went through, she'll definitely come out of it a better and happier person. So, good ending. In the end, the quote, "Hate is a place someone who can't stand sadness goes," applies to Aubrey a lot. She tried to deal with her pain through hatred and, you know, closing off all of her old friends. But as we go throughout the story, she starts to realize that, hey, this is causing not just me more pain, it's causing everyone else pain as well. So she realizes her mistakes and accepts and acknowledges all that's happened, and she comes out of it as a stronger and a better person. Or maybe I'm wrong, because at the end of the day, this is just me and my analysis and my opinion, observing as an outsider that, you know, they just played through the game. And the last time I played through the game was in like 2021, like a year ago, over a year ago. But anyway, this is my analysis, and I think we could all relate or learn something from Aubrey and her character development throughout the game. And yeah, so this is the end of the video. Congrats, you made it. If you watched all the way, you made it to the end. So thank you for watching. If you watched all the way to the actual end, because this is a long video, I acknowledge that. Like, just recording itself is taking me like an hour or so. But if you guys want to see me, you know, do an analysis on other characters of Omori, or from other stuff, like from other games or from like shows and anime or something, just let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. But you know, the legendary but. That's about it from me now. That's all I have for you guys for now. So I hope you have a good day. I hope you're doing well in life. If you're not, I hope things get better for you. And I will see you guys in my next video, which maybe might not be as serious as this one was, but I'll see you guys then. Hopefully we have a good time. Goodbye.